Roundup BFI week continues at the Lazy E Arena in Guthrie, Oklahoma. They have handed out a pile of money to some team ropers. We'll tell you about a few of those money earners coming up on today's show.
Anytime you can be 3-8 in the bulldogging, that's fast. You do it in Austin, Texas, might win you a whole lot of money. Nick Guy will join us, the 8-time NFR qualifier, to tell us about winning Rodeo Austin.
PBR's last stop was in Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's the Ty Murray Invitational. One guy pretty much dominated the event. We'll tell you who, and he will join us later on in the show.
Cowboy Channel Studios in the Fort Worth Stockyards. Welcome to Western Sports Roundup. Happy Wednesday. Happy April the 1st. Have you fooled anybody yet today?
I tried to stay away from that, Steve. It always seems to come back and haunt me somewhere.
Yeah, well, I understand. I understand that. I'm Steve Kenyon. That's Ty McClary, and we're ready to get into a whole lot of news in the world of Western sports, beginning with our Kubota top story this afternoon. And, you know, rodeo's just like any other sport. Sometimes it giveth, sometimes it taketh away. Stetson Jorgensen on Sunday could not be beaten at the Extreme Bulldogging Finals in Abilene, Texas. Then he went to Slack in San Angelo, Texas on Monday, tore up his knee.
Yeah, and I think this kind of comes from, remember, he hurt his knee at the National Finals. Rodeo continued to compete through that, not only through the entire NFR, but even into the season of what he's done this year in 2026. I mean, when you look at it, this guy's number 3 in the world standings. He just won the bulldogging that Steve told you about in Abilene, Texas, the Cedar Gap Wealth Management Bulldogging. He won Tucson, won the Silver Spurs Rodeo in Kissimmee, having a great season, but an injury is going to keep him out probably 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, 4 to 6 months is what the prognosis is. As you take a look at Stetson going to work right here, this is from the event in Abilene over the weekend where he won over $12,700, sidelined with a knee injury. Suffered that injury in San Angelo in Slack yesterday morning, and so we will keep an eye on Stetson Jorgensen and see how quick he is able to make it back and get to competing on the short end. 4 months. So what's today? April the 1st, May, June, July. That might get you back the beginning of August. Can you make enough money in 2 months to get back to the NFR? We'll have to find out.
Yeah, he's in a great spot, obviously, with him being in that number 3 position, but only being back for the last couple months of Rodeo's regular season, I just don't know. We'll keep you up to date as best we can here on Cowboy Channel. Well, many of you have been to Fort Worth Stockyards. You may have been to the world's largest honky-tonk. This is new story tonight to share with you. Billy Bob's Texas opened in 1981. Today, they celebrated their 45th anniversary. In fact, 45 years ago today, April the 1st. But that guy right there on the screen, Billy Minnick, has pretty much been the general manager in charge of Billy Bob's and all the entertainment there for over 4 decades. Of course, he and his beautiful wife, Pam Minnick, a huge celebration took place earlier today there inside of Billy Bob's. Pretty great honor for a guy to handle Billy Bob's for so long. There's Jim Gay. He was a part of the celebrations today. Congratulations to Billy Minnick, 4 decades there at Billy Bob's.
Well, congratulations go out to all of the Hall of Fame inductees, including the San Angelo Stock Show and Rodeo. If you were with us yesterday, Rodeo in San Angelo, Texas, which is getting underway, inducted into the ProRodeo Hall of Fame in 2026. Joining us to talk about all of it is the Executive Director of the San Angelo Stock Show and Rodeo. Justin Jonas is with us from San Angelo, Texas. Justin, I'm not sure who got the phone call from the PRCA earlier this week with the news about going into the ProRodeo Hall of Fame, but what was your initial reaction when you got that news?
Oh, it was really nice. Tom called me and told me he wanted to tell me personally, and just such an honor, just so humbled and proud to be in there.
Justin, it seems like to me that over the years, you guys have just worked tirelessly and hard to make San Angelo the rodeo that it is today. You know, you go back to some years back, you guys used to be in the month of February. Now you have changed, moved over to this month of April, obviously now, just continually making things better. More prize money added for the contestants, better things going on there for the rodeo crowd that comes into San Angelo each and every night. It just seems like each and every year you guys try to go above and beyond, and I think that was recognized from the Pro Rodeo and the Hall of Fame. That's part of the big reason y'all probably got inducted.
Well, I think so, but I just want to say that, it's just a testament to the community, the rodeo committees, and all of our committees that run our stock show and rodeo. This just didn't happen overnight. It's 94th year that we're starting this year. We've had decades of past presidents, past chairmen, past stock contractors, and the last, over decade and a half now, Pete Carr has been here with us. And even we've had such a good crew. We've got Boyd as our announcer. We've got Benji on lights and Hambone on the music, and Lisa Montex, their production that they're doing. We just have a really tight family that just pours their heart and soul into this thing every year. And it's just great to be recognized for San Angelo.
Justin, I've got a kind of a how-to question, if you don't mind. San Angelo is not a ginormous community. It's a good-sized town, but it's not the biggest town, certainly on what we call the Texas swing here on the Cowboy Channel. Somehow or another, you have managed to, in working in partnership with that community, make, as Ty said, this rodeo grow every single year. You highlighted the personnel. What have you done right in your relationship with your community that has helped San Angelo's rodeo to grow and become the monster that is quickly becoming?
Well, we'd like to take recognition, but all I can tell you is this is just such a rodeo town. It was built, San Angelo was built on saloons and bars, and it's rough, kind of a Western heritage type of a town that's still here today. And the rodeo, we are 100,000 people, but that's a pretty spread out, that's a pretty big loop if you put that in a circle. But this community just backs us every single year. It's the largest economic event for the city of San Angelo. If you're a community business owner, you're in a part of this, and it's not really hard to get them involved once they come to our rodeo because of the effort that our committee puts into it to make it a top-notch rodeo. I'm just so proud to be a part of it.
Justin, you guys are getting underway this weekend with the rodeo performances, and that'll continue for the next 3 weekends in a row. And I would say this is a good problem to have, but in years past, sometimes those rodeo tickets are a little hard to come by. Are there still any available? Can folks find rodeo tickets? My goodness, you guys fill up pretty fast.
Yeah, we do. And yes, we do have sponsored tickets that buy, get a group of tickets. And then if they're not going, they put them back into our system. And the second we put them back, it takes about 5 minutes and those things are gobbled up. That's the thing that we've been doing the last couple of years. This Coliseum is 67 years old, and we have been pushing for the last couple of years. And last year we were able to get a bond passed, and we're going to double the capacity starting after this year's rodeo. And we're looking so forward to that. We're going to have suites. We're going to have to be able to seat 12,000 people into this little event. And one of those problems is that, a lot of people want to come to San Angelo and want to come to rodeo, but it's hard to get a ticket. And hopefully that's going to change in the next year and a half.
San Angelo, Texas has been and continues to be one of the great rodeo cities that we've got in the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association. Now an inductee into the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association's Hall of Fame for 2026. And the timing, Justin Jonas, Executive Director, couldn't have been better because you got the news the same week that you kick off your rodeo and get ready to celebrate there in San Angelo. Enjoy the heck out of it, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys. Such an honor to do this.
That is Justin Jonas, the Executive Director there in San Angelo. Slack competition has already been underway. Qualifying rounds for the timed event contestants to make it into the performances, which get underway this weekend, just here in a couple days on Friday. We invite you to join us here on Cowboy Channel for San Angelo to get underway.
And that's coming up this weekend here on Cowboy Channel. Sad news in the world of professional rodeo over the last couple of days. Longtime, very popular stock contractor James Harper, the founder of the Harper and Morgan Rodeo Company back in 1979, passing away. James Harper was an entrepreneur, a businessman. He started his very first business at the age of 21. Started the rodeo company in 1979. They had their very first animal selected to bucket the National Finals Rodeo a year later in 1980.
Yeah, he started out as a rodeo cowboy himself as a contestant, but when Cowboys and Cowgirls look back at his career, he was very much an innovator in the production side of it and the merchandising side of it. In fact, folks even went on to say that he brought circus to rodeo, and that is exactly what Harper and Morgan did. Of course, losing the one and only James Harper. He passed away just last week at 87 years young.
Well, coming up on Western Sports Roundup, Nick Guy. He just won the rodeo in Austin. He'll tell us the story on the way.
And later on the show, we'll share a story with you about a young man that is starting to make some scenes in the rodeo arena. It's a pretty inspiring story of the young Elijah Faske. We'll have that coming up for you later on the show.
Western Sports Roundup is brought to you by Resistol, the official hat of the PRCA and Cowboys everywhere.
By Rock and Roll Denim. Live boldly. Live in rock and roll denim.
Better start making plans. The American is getting closer and closer. There's the home Globe Life Field. It'll take place May the 22nd through the 23rd right here in Arlington, Texas. The American Rodeo, they're paying out $2 million this year. And of course, the qualifiers, they are about to get underway. Contestants all across the country are making their way for these qualifiers. The East Regional qualifiers will be in Lexington, Kentucky. That's actually here in just a little over a week. Then Oklahoma City the week after that. First part of May, they'll head out west to Las Vegas for a West Regional qualifier, and then the big day in Arlington.
Nick comes in 9.4 seconds. He had 0.2 of a second. Faster than Shuckburg. Quick catch. All right. Big
there
run.
we go.
Now we're talking three.
Now we're in the threes.
Now Nick Guy goes to a 3.8.
He put a lot of air between that steer and the ground.
Yeah.
3.8 for him. Takes the lead in the round, takes a big lead in the average.
That's steer wrestler Nick Guy from the rodeo in Austin, Texas. It just came to an end. The 41-year-old finds himself in the top 50 in the world standings after winning over $13,000. Nick Guy joins us from an unidentified airport somewhere in the United States of America, traveling from rodeo to rodeo or traveling from someplace to someplace. Nick joins us. Nick, congratulations on Austin. How had you done in years past at the rodeo in Austin?
Austin's never really been a great rodeo for me. A couple years ago, I think I made the short round and I broke the barrier to do pretty good. Other than that, throughout my 14 or 15 years I've gone there, I think I've maybe only placed in the round just a couple times. So it hasn't been one that I always have on my list of one that I do good, but it's a really big rodeo in the winter, and I was really blessed to have the opportunity to win it this year.
Nick, we just watched, here's another one of your runs in Austin, but we just watched moments ago that finals run where you were 3.8, and I want to ask you something about that run because that steer that you drew, and the only reason I remember him is because he's got that left horn that kind of droops down. I watched that steer go earlier in the week in Austin, and a guy missed him. He went over his head, and I thought it might have had a little something to do with that left horn drooping down there. Were you aware of that? Were you paying attention to it? That's something that a guy could kind of skip over in your event.
It is. When they have kind of a drooped horn on either side, it makes it a little bit more challenging to get the head catch. But I knew the steer was really good if I got a really good start. And I drilled the barrier. I was able to catch up really fast and just kind of catch him. He wanted to kind of shoulder me a little bit, but felt like I just slowed down and let the run develop and hit the timing button right at the right time.
You know, Nick, you've been to Austin a lot. You were 5.6 on your first run there, and then you were 3.8 in the second go-round, 3.8 that run that won you the championship round, eventually won you the average and the rodeo and the branding iron out of the rodeo in Austin. Did you get more comfortable on each run while you were there competing at Rodeo Austin?
I did. Honestly, I've been getting more comfortable every run I've made this winter. I tore my bicep in the first part of August last year. Luckily, I was in the top. I had enough money, to get qualified for all the winter rodeos. I cracked out at Denver. I didn't really practice much before. And this winter, I haven't really spent my time focusing on practicing, getting ready. I've been kind of at home, spending time with my family. And So with these winter rodeos, when you can only go to 1 or 2 a month, it's taken me a little bit to kind of get back in the groove, I guess, a little bit. So before Austin, we went to Montgomery, Alabama, and Buffalo, Texas. And I felt like when I got to Austin, I was finally starting to kind of get my groove back. My first steer was one that was a little bit weaker, and I didn't end up making as good of a run as I hoped, but it ended up when I came back on my second one, I was able to make up some time and then drew a good steer in the short round and was able to capitalize there as well.
Nick, you were riding a darn good horse down there at Rodeo Austin. In fact, you've talked about him in some of the stories that you've done this season. Downtown's the name of the horse. He's been in your program now for a couple of years. That's huge for you guys in steer wrestling to have not only a good horse, but one that you've got a lot of confidence in.
100%. I put all my confidence in that horse. I got him a couple years ago. It was kind of a process of getting him solid in the box and kind of getting him finished out. But I've kind of been the only one to ride him the last few years and just taking it slow with him. He's got a lot of ability. He's a really cool horse. He came from Rod and Holly Brown from Nebraska, Arrow B Performance horses. Eli Lord actually had the horse before I did. And put a bunch of runs on him and kind of hauled him around for a little bit and seasoned him a little bit. So I was able to just kind of put the finishing touches on him these last few years. And getting older and going out and being away from my family and stuff like that, it's knowing that I have a horse that I can trust every time I back in there allows me to kind of go and just have fun and focus on my steer wrestling. And like I said, having a horse like that, he's not going to hurt you and he's not going to put you in a situation where you're going to get in a bind. The confidence I have in him is really kind of what I'm riding right now. I was able to go to Angelo on Monday and Tuesday and be 4-9 and 4-5 and coming back there 8th after two rounds. So coming back to the last perf there on the 16th. So I actually left my horse down here in Texas so that I can ride him in a couple weeks when I come back.
Wow, good job in San Angelo as well. So let me ask you a question about your health, Nick. You made a comment to Ty earlier about a torn bicep. You missed some time. Now coming back at the age of 41, how do you feel?
I feel really good right now. I've been able to kind of work out and kind of focus on getting healthy and taking my time doing it. I didn't feel like I was pressured to get back at any certain time, but I tore my left bicep in 2019, so I kind of knew what to expect when I tore my right one this year. And I'm right arm dominant, so I feel like it came back a little better than my left one. And since I'd been through the whole process before, I felt like I was able to kind of go a little faster with it. But I feel good. It feels good to be back doing it, and excited for Logandale and Angelo coming up here in the next week or so, and then take a little break and be ready to crack back out probably in Guyman.
8 times to the National Finals Rodeo for you, Nick. You just mentioned a little bit about the injuries. You've dealt with some of that really throughout your entire career, but now as a family man, seems like rodeo's changed a little bit for you. Sure, you're going to the big ones. You're trying to get as much money won, trying to go back to another trip to the National Finals Rodeo. I understand that, but it has changed a little bit for you now, hasn't it, with the family at home?
It has for sure. I've got my priorities are a little different than they used to be. It used to be kind of just I could survive out on the road and go have fun and do it. It was all that really mattered. And now that I've got a family, we got another baby coming here in a couple weeks. So we're going to have our hands full. But now that I'm getting older, I'm looking for something to kind of help transition out of this lifestyle. And not that I want to get totally away from it, but other things to look forward to and other things to focus on. And having that really nice horse and all those things that allows me to kind of put that focus in other places and not have to focus on trying to get my horse ready or trying to find a horse to ride that fits me. I mean, I feel like I've kind of got that area covered and I can, do the things I need to do at home and then be able to go to the rodeos and still feel like I'm got a great chance.
Well, Nick, we all love it when you're having success, and you had a lot of success in Austin. You're off to a pretty good start in San Angelo. Travel safe. I know you're getting on an airplane here in a little bit to going somewhere, and we look forward to having a chance to visit with you again after another big win.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys. It's always nice to talk to you.
Good to talk to Nick Guy as well, and congratulations again on a big win at Rodeo Austin. Please stay with us here on Western Sports Roundup. When we come back, we're going to introduce you to a young man that kind of had a pretty rough start to his young life, but thanks to things going on in the arena as of lately for Elijah Faske, seems to be looking up and getting a little better. We'll have that story to share with you when we return.
Honestly, I was kind of surprised that it did happen, especially in that run. But it was amazing, the amount of work that our kids put into it to helping him to get to that point.
Roundup. Young rodeo competitor Elijah Faske has had a pretty rough start to his young life. But thanks to some friends not only outside the arena, but inside the arena, he's getting now to experience some pretty cool moments. Here's more.
What do you want to do whenever you grow up?
Be a ranch hand.
I'm proud of what he's been able to do. 3-4 years ago, I would have thought there's no way this kid's going to be able to do this.
In Burton, Texas, the Faske family doesn't do anything halfway. They're raising 31 children, 28 of them adopted, and many rooted in rodeo. When Elijah Faske arrived at 6 years old from a disrupted adoption, he inherited all of it. The horses, the ropes, the arena. And what no one knew then was that Elijah would learn to rope in a way few cowboys ever had.
When he came into this rodeo family, you automatically get handed a rope and put on a horse. He had to kind of jump in and run with it.
He's on the autism spectrum, but on the high functioning end. He was born with a birth defect where he was missing one of his eyes completely, and he has a prosthetic in that eye. And then his other eye, he has low vision in. He has 20/250, and he also has something called coloboma, which is like blacked out spaces in his field of vision. And so when he looks at something, you know, his brain just sees parts of it, and he can kind of gather that together in his mind and say, okay, that's a horse.
With 6 kids currently competing, 4 girls in high school rodeo, and 2 boys in junior high, the Faske arena is rarely quiet. But for a long time, Elijah wasn't part of the noise. He was in the stands.
He had to sit out a lot of things, and he spent a lot of time with me in the stands. He couldn't see his brothers and sisters out there in the arena.
When Elijah was old enough, he started where most Faske kids do, with barrel racing and pole bending, learning the basics of riding and reining. But the roping pin was always his calling. His older brother, Caleb, had already taken upon himself to teach Elijah everything that he knew, starting with a dummy on the ground and working up from there.
I heard him telling the other kids how he wasn't going to do barrels anymore, and that unless he got to rope, he just wasn't going to do it. And then we started working on roping.
I really didn't see it as being possible, honestly. I know Caleb wanted it, and the other kids were helping him, and he was getting pretty good on dummy, but that transition to live cattle and on horseback, it's a big jump.
We started letting him just give it a shot.
No, so sit on your seat. Like, yeah, like this, and put your toes back. Toes down, not up.
Remember, you're supposed to have a slight bend in your knees.
I know.
Right there. All right? Toes down a little bit.
Our kids make it very easy because they take on a lot of what's going on. They train their own horses. They do all the work themselves, and they're helping Eli the same. I'm not a roper, so everything he knows came from the kids.
But roping blind presents a challenge no amount of practice alone can solve. Finding the calf in a large arena, especially under dim lights, a dark calf against a dark dirt is nearly impossible for Elijah to track. The family needed to find a way to create contrast. The answer came from an unlikely place.
A friend of ours had the idea. He had a dog collar, but it was actually a shock collar that had a light on it for working dogs. And we tried that on the calf, and that is actually when he caught the first time, was with the lighted collar.
Being able to see where the head of the calf is very helpful.
The lighted collar was a breakthrough, but it wasn't a magic fix. Roping requires feel, timing, and the ability to read an animal that doesn't move the same way twice. For Elijah, who can barely see a few feet in front of him, there were still days when the whole thing felt impossible.
That first summer, I don't think he caught the entire summer. That time he was just so down on himself. And I could tell when he was leaving the arena that he had big tears coming out of his eyes. And he said, "Mom, I suck." He said, "I'm never going to be able to catch a calf. I'm never going to be able to do this."
The other kids have really rallied around him, that when he is down and feeling like he can't do it, they're there and going, "You got this. This is what we're going to try now." They're always trying different things.
In January of 2026, at a regional rodeo in Edna, Texas, Elijah entered the box. The calf broke hard, racing to the far end of the arena, the one place Elijah struggles most to track it. Most people in the stands had no idea what they were watching, but those who did held their breath.
I thought, it's just not going to happen today. And all of a sudden he threw it and everybody just started screaming because it was around its neck.
Honestly, I was kind of surprised that it did happen, especially in that run. But it was amazing, the amount of work that our kids put into it to helping him to get to that point. It was kind of a payoff for everybody.
I called his name and he came up to the fence and gave me a high five, and he was just so happy. It was just so great to see. I think my favorite part of the whole thing was when he just reached down and he petted Catalina's neck, and you could tell like he was just so appreciative of her for putting him in the right position and for taking care of him.
Now that he has got to this point, you can see a complete flip-flop of who he was before as to who he is now.
This is a child that came from a place that was of complete brokenness. You know, he had a lot of hurt and he didn't really know how to process that, and it kind of turned into him having a hard time. And this has really boosted his confidence and helped him to be able to make friends and to learn how to be part of an organization and a group. And I think he really feels good about himself, which is really a beautiful thing to see.
And that is proof that sometimes the biggest wins aren't measured up on the scoreboard. Those are some of the branded pieces that you can catch on our YouTube page on Cowboy Plus. They also include some great features like our very own Katie Lucas about her young son, Hadley Berg, of course, Jake Long, Tyler Kipps, Isaac Miller. They're all there for you to check out on Cowboy Plus. Stay with us. When we return, country music superstar. Not only is he making his name in the world of music, but he's a pretty darn good team roper. Hear all about Cody Johnson and his trip to the BFI.
Today's the final day of BFI week, the Bob Fice Invitational team roping going on at the Lazy E Arena in Guthrie, Oklahoma. One notable contestant this year at the BFI, country music superstar Cody Johnson. It wasn't that long ago, just a few days ago, he set a record at Rodeo Houston, over 80,000 fans, breaking George Strait's old attendance record. He turned around a few days later, saddled up, and went to roping at the BFI. Here's Cody Johnson with Haley Novak.
What's that like to be able to go between the two of being a huge country music superstar and then just roping with your buddies?
Man, after Houston, which was something that I'd had on my mind for a long time, getting to go to the George Strait concert where he set the record at NRG Stadium, I remember everybody having a good time, and I was the only one that was really just kind of somber and quiet watching. And in my mind, the way I work competitively with my brain was, I want to go set that record. Because if I set that record, then maybe George Strait comes back and beats my record, and I want to be there to see it, because he's the king of country music. I mean, I have like Michael Jordan level respect for George Strait. And so then we go to play Little Rock, Arkansas, and I told my guys, I said, this ain't Houston. It's not 80,000 people, but those people paid the same dollar, and they deserve the exact same performance. And as soon as the show was over, I thought, now I get to go to a different arena and go compete completely differently. I think everything in my life is always having a goal to be driven to. I want to win today. We didn't come here to have fun. We came here to win, but we're also having a lot of fun.
Right.
No, for me, watching him, we've been friends since 2012. Met for the first time in California on a ranchero ride, and it's just been impressive, not only to be his friend, but to watch him just elevate the Western level for all of us. I mean, he represents country, the lifestyle we all love and live and breathe. And so it's awesome to see him go from where he was to, well, I was there at Houston watching him there, put on that concert. It was just amazing to watch him break the record. And here we are just cracking up and having fun. You know, of course we're competitive, but we're having fun.
This was the second roping I ever entered. Yeah. And we were sitting right there. No, I had won a little jackpot in Mineral Wells, Texas, and that was it. And then I came here to the BFI because of Dustin.
So how much confidence do you have to have in your own roping to go to a jackpot in Mineral Wells and then say, hey, I'm going to go to one of the richest ropings of all time at the BFI?
I love competition. I love everything about it. I don't care if it's how close can we throw the quarter to the wall. I want to win. And, you know, when I was in high school, I started riding bulls on a dare. Somebody just said, I dare you. And then I went and bought a bull rope and some chaps and my spurs and my vest, and I wound up going to the state finals that year. I'm just one of those guys that competitively, you have to be very careful about telling me I can't do something, because the night that we set the Rodeo Houston record, I heard that my buddy Luke Combs set the record at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, and I said, that's next.
Yeah.
Thank you to Haley Novak. Big thank you to Cody Johnson and Dustin Noblett. They did not make it back into the championship round of the number 11.5 tie. They were just out of it. But that roping paid an awful lot of money. Here are your champions, Darren Ridley and Jason DeVore.
Yeah, a couple guys out of the state of Colorado. They came back high call in the short round. That's where you kind of like to be. And they stayed on top when it was all settled and done. They ended up putting about $80,000 in each one of them's pocket, actually a little over when you tally it all up. So a big payday for those guys. 31-42, that's the 11.5. Businessman's rope, when you see it right there. Michael Riggins, Trent Spivey from over in East Texas, they were second. There's Dennis Gates in fourth place money.
Wow.
That's a National Finals Rodeo team roper from a day or two ago. And there's my buddy Bobby Simmons and Nick Coates rounding out your top 5. That's the businessman's roping.
So the number 12.5 was the richest roping of BFI week. Ricky Melman on the head side, Preston Pay on the heel side. The number 12.5, they're going to be 28.42 on 4, and they're going to win $220,000 that they split in between them. That is the richest ever roping on Million Dollar Monday at the BFI. There were 400 teams entered. They came back as the second high callback. They were 7-2 on their final steer and ended up winning the number 1 spot.
And the cool story about Preston, he actually made the final round last year at this same roping, missed in the short round. So, it is good to be back up there for 2026. There's the top 5 when it was all said and done. There's a national finalist in Jason Stewart right there at that 4th place money. So that's the way it looked at BFI week over the last couple of days.
Preston's a college kid at Sam Houston State University. What would you have done if you'd won like $100,000 while you were in college?
I don't have any idea, Steve. That was way too long ago. I wasn't near smart enough to be able to handle $100,000. I'm probably not today either.
Yeah, well, there it is. That's what he did. Congratulations. BFIweek.com. It's got all kinds of great information about the champions of the BFI, which, by the way, wraps up today. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, Keyshawn Whitehorse, dominant, the Navajo Nation bull rider in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Ty will get a chance to visit with him next on Western Sports Roundup. Well, let's go to the pit in Albuquerque, New Mexico, the home of the Ty Murray Invitational PBR bull riding, one of the longest running events in the PBR and known as one of the loudest events in the PBR. And the folks there had a chance and a reason to get really loud because Keyshawn Whitehorse, great performance.
Oh, he definitely did. He kind of dominated it. But let's start the weekend off. 3 days worth of action there in Albuquerque, New Mexico. In round 1, it was Dalton Castle on a bull called Pegasus. Listen to this, 92 3/4 points. That was Dalton's 3rd round win of the season. But the score itself, Steve, that 92 3/4, that's the 2nd highest score of the Unleash the Beast season for this 2026 year.
Yeah, Dalton Castle off to a great start, and he's hanging around in the top 5, trying to get himself back into that race to be a world champion. I mentioned Keyshawn Whitehorse. Get ready for a lot of Keyshawn Whitehorse coming up. Go round number 2, 90.15, a bull called Magic Hunter for the Navajo Nation native. Whitehorse, one of 3 bull riders to go 4 for 4 when this was all said and done. and he made this one look easy.
And here's the thing, after round one competition for Keyshawn, he ended up placing 6th in the first round with an 89.40. Then after that 90.15, that put him in the number 1 spot so far. And then we get into the big day on Sunday. That was the round 3. There's Keyshawn Whitehorse on Freightliner Fever, 91.60. That kept him in that number 1 spot.
And that gave him the opportunity to draft the bull that he wanted to draft going into the championship round. And so Keyshawn Whitehorse is all set up now for the final championship round. Let's talk about the guy that actually won that championship round. Here we are in the Albuquerque Championship. It's Brady Fielder on a bull called Tigger. Brady Fielder finishes 4th a lot. He's been 4th 3-4 times this year. Finds himself number 4 in the PBR standings. The Unleash the Beast Tour, he is 91.15. That's a good bull ride for Brady Fielder right there, who is once again a contender to do something really special. But let's talk about Keyshawn Whitehorse. I told you that he was set up to pick the bull that he wanted. He drafted Lights Out. This bull, Lights Out, they have won 6 events this year on this bull.
This bull is unbelievable. 90 3/4 for them. Look at what Keyshawn did over the entire weekend there in Albuquerque. 6th place in the first round. Then we told you about him winning round number 2. Then round number 3, he gets the win there. Sure, he was 2nd behind Brady Fielder's 91.15 in the championship round on that bull Lights Out, 90 3/4 to get the 2nd place money in the championship round.
Yeah, and more importantly, he rode all 4 of his bulls. Whitehorse, Claudio Montagna, and Bob Mitchell rode all 4 of their bulls in Albuquerque. Keyshawn Whitehorse jumps from number 20 to number 9 on the Unleash the Beast Tour with that great performance in Albuquerque.
Well, we might as well just go ahead and talk to the champion of the Ty Murray Invitational. That is Keyshawn Whitehorse that is joining us here on Western Sports Roundup. Keyshawn, not only welcome to the show, congratulations on a huge weekend, but I want to ask you this. There's just something about the Ty Murray Invitational inside the pit there in Albuquerque. What is it about that event? Because it seems to not only draw the best out of you PBR bull riders, but the crowd right on top of you guys, it's just something electric.
Yeah, the energy there at the building is just amazing. I mean, you got such a confined little area with a bunch of fans that are, very knowledgeable about the sport. A lot of people around that area have a Western lifestyle and stuff. So when they see great bull rides, they get really excited. And then on top of that, you got, one of the hardest events to win all year. They bring a really good set of bulls, 3-day-long bull riding with guys just making spectacular bull rides. So at the end of the day, I feel like every person, every kid, but I feel like especially me, being from the Navajo Reservation, just really wanted to win that event.
Keyshawn, and I want to know this because you talk about the excitement from there, from the fans, and you guys feed off of that as bull riders, and I get that. But how do you, in an event like that, where the crowd's right on top of you, you're feeding off the energy inside there, but how do you keep yourself as a veteran bull rider from feeding off that energy, but not getting too amped up where you end up overdoing it if you're not careful?
Yeah, I feel like, over time I've kind of built up processes, like I like to focus on my breathing. I have a couple little phrases I like to say and repeat in my mind. Along with that being said, I just like to really try to be calm, and then until I enter that chute, that's when I really zone and lock in and, let things happen and react, just clearing the mind, keeping the mind from thinking too much.
All right, so you mentioned it moments ago, obviously from the Navajo Nation, and obviously being there in Albuquerque, New Mexico, this is one of those big events that definitely was on your bucket list to win. Let's talk about the weekend because you basically owned the entire weekend. Tell me a little bit about it. Round number 1, you maybe got started off a little slower than you wanted. You were 89.40 points. You placed in that round, a little deeper in the round, but round 2 and 3 is where things really started to come together for you.
Yeah, no doubt. The first round had a really good bull at Ty Ferris's. I seen Brady Fielder get on that bull in Sacramento and didn't have the best trip with him, but throughout that trip, he really bucked hard. So I knew at the end of the day, I had a really good bull for that first round. I felt like, honestly, it's one of my favorite rides of the entire event, even though it wasn't marked 90. Moving on from that, I had the Magic Hunter, a bull that I've always wanted to get on, and I haven't had the chance until this past weekend. It's a Martinez bucking bull, and a lot of guys made a lot of really good rides on this bull, and it was just waiting for my opportunity to get that chance to put my bull rope on that bull. And things lined up. I had a game plan ready to go, but at the end of the day, I just made sure I reacted. And round 3, had a bull that I didn't really know too well. It was a bull at Hilton Bull Company, and I talked to John Krember. He had gone that bull in Denver earlier this year and had said that he really, really bucks hard. But at the end of the day, he said, I think he would work really good for me, and it did. Throughout the entire trip of that bull ride, it was a fight. That bull was a very stout bull, and when he shot out, I felt all the power. And to finish it off, I made sure that I had a good pick. I had a bull that a lot of guys won events on earlier this year, so I guess in some terms, he's a money bull. Lights out of Blake Sharp. I mean, you can't ask for a much better bull. He had a little different trip than he usually does, but nonetheless, I felt like I was just exactly where I needed to be, and it made me work for a little bit, but then they made me earn it, and I was proud of every single moment of it.
Okay, when it was all said and done, there's a look at it. 361.90 total on 4 bull rides for you. You went 4 for 4 for the entire weekend. I want you to back up just a second to that championship round bull, Keyshawn, because of the prior round win, that round 3 win, that actually put you in the lead for the event overall. So that lets you be the first to pick in that draft for that championship round. And obviously, you picked the bull lights out. I guess going into that draft, did you know that's exactly what you wanted to pick? Did you already have that kind of up here on your mind?
Yeah, I pretty much did. There was another bull in that long round. Actually, the bull that Claudio Montana had covered in the short round that he ended up picking. I kind of had that bull in mind as well. But I saw who was right behind me. It's Jose Victor Leme, and he's a great world champion, and he knows how to get every point out of every single bull. And with that being said, this bull gives out a lot of points. Lights Out does. So I figured the best chance I had of beating a world champ like that is picking the bull that would give me the most amount of points, and not letting that bull slip, because I felt like if I let him pick that bull, that was just an automatic deal of where he would outscore me in particular, even if I was able to get a qualified ride on the other bull. I just tried to strategize as best as I could, and I had a lot of confidence in my ability of riding Lights Out or riding the Bowser bull that was in that short round. But Jose's a 3-time world champion for a reason. I got a lot of respect from him. He knows how to get out of every point out of every bull when he needs to, and when he knows that he needs to make sure that his score is high. So a little strategizing in that short round, but I mean, I feel like it is really hard to go away from a bull like Lights Out when he's provided so many victories for guys throughout the season.
Keyshawn, when you look at this entire weekend, when it was all said and done, you getting that big win in Albuquerque at the Ty Murray Invitational, you move from 16th way up to 9th in the world standings. In fact, there's a look at it. You're inside the top 10 now. And with that being said, Keyshawn, we're getting closer and closer to the PBR World Finals coming up in May. This is a huge win for you right here towards the ending part of the season, isn't it?
Oh yeah, no doubt. Prior to this past weekend, I know the PBR World Finals has elimination rounds and stuff like that. And, it's just really tough, to get things going when you're coming in from so far behind into the World Finals. But when you're higher in the world standings, you feel like you can get things on a roll, especially, right now, riding good and, feeling pretty good for the most part, going into World Finals and going into the last stretch of this regular season. I can get things rolling the right direction and making sure that I have a phenomenal World Finals and looking to take the World Finals event title.
Well, Keyshawn, just keep that ball rolling, and you're exactly right. Just carry that right on with you. The PBR World Finals when they get underway next month. I've been a big fan of yours for a long time. Congratulations on this big win over the weekend, and thanks for joining us here on Western Sports Roundup.
Thank you, sir.
Keyshawn Whitehorse, your champion, the Ty Murray Invitational over the weekend in Albuquerque. Of course, they got big things coming up. Sioux Falls, South Dakota, PBR Bull Riders actually have a week off, and then April the 10th through the 12th is when they are headed to South Dakota. They're in Sioux Falls. Stay with us here on Western Sports Roundup. We've got more to get to. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Well, if you've got Cowboy Plus, you've got a great rodeo weekend ahead of you. We're going to the High Desert Stampede, Redmond, Oregon. They actually kick the action off there tonight. Bulls, Broncs, and Bears, along with some breakaway roping. That runs through Saturday night. And by the time they get to Saturday night at High Desert Stampede, that place is jam-packed. Wickenburg, Arizona. They've got a rodeo they call the Legends of the West Pro Rodeo, one of the most scenic places in the world to enjoy a rodeo. You feel like you are surrounded by the legends of the West. And it's Easter weekend. There's an Easter weekend tradition in the little town of El Paso, Arkansas. Crossroads Cowboy Church, the Central Arkansas Pro Rodeo. You can watch them all this weekend on Cowboy Plus.
Let's get to our Veterison Top 3 headlines, brought to you by Veterison Clean Treat Heel. We kicked it off telling you about Billy Bob's, the world's largest honky-tonk, opened back in 1981 on this very day. They celebrated 45 years, and of course, Billy Minnick, right there, a big part of that celebration. He's been at the helm of the great Billy Bob's for so many decades.
Congratulations to the San Angelo Stock Show and Rodeo, about ready to kick off this weekend. Justin Jonas joined us, the executive director. They're headed into the ProRodeo Hall of Fame, but first they're going to have a rodeo. You can watch all the action over the next 3 weekends here on Cowboy Channel. We hope you will stay with us for San Angelo. And a little bit of troubling news on the injury report. Stetson Jorgensen on Sunday won the extreme bulldogging finals, I should say, in Abilene, Texas. Then on Monday at Slack in San Angelo, tore up his knee. You see what he's done so far this year. Won Tucson, won the extreme bulldogging finals, won the Wilderness Circuit finals. But he's out of action for the next 4 to 6 weeks. Thanks for joining us this afternoon for Western Sports Roundup. Hope you enjoyed this very first day of April. We did not try to fool you one time that you know of. For Ty McClary, I'm Steve Kenyon. God bless everybody. Thanks for watching. This is Western Sports Roundup.